Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I'll just do a quick intro to that camera, and then we'll go to you.
Yep, easy as.
Easy?
Are you, and do you, that stuff you were just talking about, are you quite open about that kind of stuff as well?
Massively.
Yeah, awesome.
Massively. This is like sort of the driving force behind this podcast was like being open and honest about these sorts of taboo topics that a lot of people either don't like to talk about or it's painful to talk about, or maybe they don't even know how to talk about it. Like for me, I couldn't articulate those feelings and thoughts. I couldn't put it into words. I was like, how do I tell someone this when I couldn't even explain it to myself? So then I didn't want someone else, another kid, to go through something similar. I didn't want someone else to feel like, how do I express myself? How do I find the answers? Like, and not them to feel different or weird is a bad thing. You know, I always felt like the outcast. I always felt different, and I was just like, I always assumed that with being wrong or being something's wrong with you, that you're different from everyone else. But like everyone's different.
True.
You know, and I feel like there's more people trying to pretend like they're with everyone else rather than trying to be themselves individually. I think everyone's almost a bit sheepish when they just like follow the crowd and they'll just do what everyone else is doing. They'll just say they're all right because that person says they're all right, and no one's actually going, hang on a second.
I'm not all right.
I'm fucking not all right.
Yeah.
Like I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And then once I sort of started this, and even with my own friends group, once I started this, mates that I come from all my mates played footy with. So when you catch up, we watch a footy, talk about footy. You know, that's pretty much the extent, you know, years gone by. And now since I started this, it's like the chats that we have is almost nothing about footy, and it's all about like, how's your relationship going?
Oh, that's huge, man.
You know, and it's them initiating themselves. Whereas before, these are the stereotypical alpha male footy guys. That's like, nothing bothers me. If there's something that does, I'll just drink a carton of piss, get on it, and then that's how I deal with it.
Oh, that's so good.
But for my friends group, it's amazing to see like, what books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? Like, oh, I got a question about like, you know, me and my wife are going through something, and I'm like, yes, like, I love this, and I love that like the evolution of our friendship has changed so much because of this podcast. I'm not saying it's because of this podcast, but
similar timing.
Similar timing that like, I don't know if it's you know, especially with guys, like all it takes is one of your mates to stand up and say something or break the ice, that it almost gives people the permission to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like this podcast was like, my mates really wanted to talk about a few things, but maybe didn't know how to, or maybe felt too embarrassed to. But when I started this, I think that sort of gave them permission to be like, all right, there's some shit that's going on in my life that I'd love to talk about. Can we not talk about footy and to talk about like, you know, either work stresses or who am I sort of stresses? I feel like I'm in a job that's not fulfilling, and like the conversations that we're having now is like, even we're at the gym and we get a workout in, but like I feel like the gym is a great place for me and my mates to have some deep chats. You know, it's just an excuse for us to get together and have some really good chats. So I think
the relationship would have like gotten way deeper with your friends too.
Way deeper.
Yeah.
Like the love of our friends has gotten way deeper because the conversations are so much more personal and private and emotional. Like I had a mate who he had a baby boy in February last year, was born with all these sort of health conditions, and it was alive for 9 months and then sadly passed away. And like brutal, because he stayed in the children's hospital for 9 months. You know, it was one of the longest babies to stay at the children's hospital, and just see him go through it every day and be in that situation. And I went down a couple of times, and even me being there for an hour, I didn't say this to him, but even me being there for an hour, I was like, this is heavy.
Yes.
This is a heavy place to be. I try to be positive and like offer that support, but I remember looking around going, fuck man, like there's shit going all around in the other rooms. Like we're walking past a room and people are cleaning this room up. So like someone's obviously, someone's passed away and they're cleaning everything room up. And I'm just thinking, fuck, imagine my mate walking through this every single day to his kid and seeing like different rooms sort of get cleaned up and then new people come in and I'm like, fuck. And then, but like having that emotional maturity to sit with him at the hospital and not feel awkward, to be just to hold space, just to hear him, and not to offer advice. I'm not a professional or anything, but just to have that emotional maturity and intelligence, just to sit with him and let him cry, and not feel like awkward or strange about your mate crying, as I would have done in my 20s or my teens, where your mate's crying, you're thinking, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah. But just have that awareness that I would never have. So like, I think this podcast has been like life changing for me. Like, I had my father on the podcast. He went through some heavy shit when he was a kid that we never talked about. Yeah. I went through my own battles that I kept from him. Wow. And I said to him, I've always wanted to know why you are the way that you are. Whoa. And the deal was, he goes, all right, I'll come on and tell you my childhood if you tell me what happened to you. And I was like, fuck.
Bro.
I was like, deal.
That's huge.
Deal. And it was like the most life-changing. I think that single podcast episode was probably the most life-changing one for me and my family, because I never spoken about my battles with my mum and dad. I kept it from them.
Right.
And then they never spoke about their childhood battles for me because they kept it from me. So it was almost a generational cycle of like, not hiding stuff, but pretending that everything's all right when it wasn't. So my dad now, like after the podcast, my dad is the most, like his thing was he was hard for him to show emotion. That older generation, get on with it type of thing. Yeah. And now he's like, giving me hugs and kisses and like telling me like how he's feeling and like, what his dreams are. What he's about to retire and what he wants to do in his life. He goes, I want to get up welding and I want to be an artist and weld stuff. And I'm like,
that's so good.
And it's just like his the way he talks. I think it was like 69 years of suppressing all this sort of childhood trauma and emotions, and then bring it into fatherhood, and really wanted to tell us, but at the same time, like, so emotional. Like it was such a painful chat for him to tell us what actually happened in his childhood, that like you could just see like his shoulders went back and the weight of the world was off his chest, and like he could actually like breathe and be like,
he could let it go.
My kids know me. Whereas I felt like maybe he didn't feel like we knew him as a person. We knew him as a dad, but we were like, why does he react like this? Why does he have certain tendencies? Why doesn't he, showing emotion wasn't his big strength? And like all his childhood trauma points back to like why he is the way that he is. But there was so much conflict as us as kids, because I was just like, why is Dad's a bit of a dick? But he was not a dick. That was his coping mechanism. Like that's how he survived his childhood, was to show the least amount of emotion as he could to survive. So I think that was like one of the biggest, life changes for me and my family, was that one with Dad.
Oh, that's huge, man.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my dad a lot, because he's sort of like that, get on with it.
Yeah.
But he's still like that,
Have you had a chat with him?
It's really difficult to.
Yeah.
Like we know a lot of his background as from what it was like when he was a child and that, and it was pretty hectic, man. Like it was full on. But he doesn't get, like, he can tell stories about his past, but he never says how it made him feel, or he never talks about his feelings now. Like he's still just thugging it out the whole time.
Yeah. Almost disconnected, like probably similar to my dad. It's like that coping mechanism. Like if I can just disconnect myself from those feelings, maybe that's like the best way to cope with it and survive with it.
Yeah. And was your dad like real busy with work?
So Dad's got a little bit of ADD, I think, or the busyness. Like he cannot sit still. He has to be doing something. He works away in the mines, and he comes over in WA. He had a week off. I was like, Dad, just chill. Come back to Sunny Coast, just chill. I went over to his house one day, and he's up on the fucking roof. He's late 60s. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I've always wanted to take this satellite off the roof. I go, call me up. Like, get off the roof.
That's my dad. That's my dad to a T, man. And my dad's like 79.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
Like he's old, but he's just still doing stuff. And he's like, I'm like, can I please do this.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Let me help.
yeah, he just wants to do it himself because otherwise he won't have anything to do.
Yeah. Well, we had a chat because my dad's retiring next month, and he actually had a chat, and he's like, I'm actually really worried about retiring. And I was like, why is that? Because I've got nothing to do. And I was like, really? Because all my life I've had something to do, and he almost puts it down to his childhood is just keeping himself busy physically, but keeping his mind busy, keeping his mind off the things that maybe he's been like trying to forget. That's almost like programmed into himself for like 50, 60 years of like work. Like that's one of the biggest things that I take away from my dad is he's such a good worker, such a good provider, like non-stop. Like he'll do any job, whatever job it is to provide for the family, works his ass off, but he doesn't know how to like rest.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to like sit like this and just be with himself.
Yeah.
I think that will be like the greatest challenge and maybe battle that he might go through in retirement is be able to sit down and just be like at peace with these or maybe his own thoughts and just slow everything down. But I mean, he's since being on the podcast, he's opened up massively and in terms of having open dialogue about how he's feeling and like the challenges that may arise in retirement, which has been great.
He'll go deep with the you said welding and doing like art and stuff.
Yeah, well, he's got an art background, so
he'll go deep in that.
Yeah,
100%.
I feel like he will, like, because he's turned our back shed, our family home. We had a back shed that used to be a games room when we were growing up. Yeah, Dad's ripped it all out, and he's just like, "This is going to be my art studio."
Awesome,
I
man.
was like, "This is sick."
That'll be what he does full time.
Full time, I reckon.
100%.
All right, we better well, I better just doing a quick intro before this an hour in. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.